What is up, everybody? Right now we're going to take a look at the iPhone 7 versus the Galaxy S7 Edge and how they both compare in 2018. Now starting off, there is quite a bit of difference in the bodies. Now one thing that is similar though is that they both have home buttons and fingerprint sensors within it. I did find the iPhone 7's fingerprint sensor to be a little bit better than the Galaxy S7's Edges, but really they're both kind of in the same league when it comes to fingerprint sensors. The screens are a little bit different on both as well. The Galaxy S7 Edge has a 5.5-inch Super AMOLED screen, and that screen is actually clocked at 1440p versus the iPhone 7, which is actually 4.7 inches, and that's clocked at 750 by 1334. Now, as a whole, even if the screens were the same inches, I would honestly say that the Galaxy S7 Edge's screen is much better than the iPhone 7's, and that is because the OLED technology. I'm a sucker for OLED technology, and I always found it better than IPS or TFT or any other LCD panel, whatever. So the Galaxy S7 Edge in terms of screen definitely wins here, and I do find it feeling more premium than the iPhone 7. Even though the Galaxy S7 Edge is a little bit cheaper, I do find it feeling more premium, which is kind of weird. Now turning it on, we have completely different operating systems on both. I'm sure you all know. The iPhone 7 has iOS 11.4 running on it versus the Galaxy S7 Edge that has Android 8.0 running on it, which is super cool actually because that's the latest version of Android, and Samsung could have pulled a move where they stopped updating it at like Android 7.0. It came with Android 6.0, but I feel like they're going to support it up until maybe even Android 9.0. I probably doubt it though. They're probably going to stop with Android 8, but the iPhones, as we know, Apple always supports those iPhones like crazy. So I can see the iPhone 7 lasting at least another 3 years in terms of, support. And you can even probably use it after that too. But in terms of updates, the iPhone 7 wins here. Now, in terms of performance, Android and iOS have this thing where iOS doesn't necessarily need the greatest specs in order to have it running even faster than even other Android phones that have higher specs than it. And this is kind of one of those prime examples. The iPhone 7 has a quad-core processor clocked at 2.3 GHz. It has the Apple A10 Fusion chip, and it has 2 GB of RAM. And those specs, if you put them in an Android phone, would somewhat be kind of mediocre. But when you compare it to the S7 Edge, it has a Qualcomm Snapdragon 820 processor. It has a quad-core processor on some versions, but on other versions, I think the international ones, it has an octa-core processor. And it also has 4 GB of RAM, and the S7 Edge is definitely not slow at all. It can definitely handle most of the stuff you throw at it, but the biggest problem with the S7 Edge is that Touchwiz, even at this time, I wasn't a fan of, and it seems like it really bogs down what the phone could potentially do. And I just feel like they jam-packed so many features in it versus iOS, where it's so streamlined, it's so clean, that it doesn't really have too much running in the background. So I definitely feel like in terms of just, using the phone day to day, the iPhone will win here, but I do feel like the S7 Edge is better at, overall gaming and, higher intensive tasks. But you will be surprised by how, even the playing field is when you compare an iPhone that has these type of specs versus an S7 Edge that was an Android flagship and has way better specs than it on paper. Now switching to the cameras, they actually have the same megapixel count on both. They both can also shoot 4K videos. Really the only difference, and it's a small one, is that the iPhone 7 can shoot 1080p at 120 frames per second, where the Galaxy S7 Edge cannot, but it can shoot Quad HD videos, 4K videos, so that's super cool. The front camera is a little bit better on the iPhone 7. It's 7 megapixels versus 5 megapixels on the S7 Edge. And I think as a whole, the iPhone 7 is a little bit better at shooting photos. But I think in terms of raw videos, the S7 Edge does have a little bit of an advantage here. It's not by much though. I mean, they're both pretty much even, but if I had to say, photos are better on the iPhone 7 and videos are a little bit better on the S7 Edge. And it might just be an illusion because the S7 Edge has an OLED panel and it kind of makes the colors pop a little bit more. So just take that with a grain of salt. Now, in terms of battery life, I feel like the S7 Edge is a little bit better. It has a much bigger battery. It has a 3600 mAh battery versus a 1960 mAh battery on the iPhone 7. And it definitely can last you a little bit longer, but I do feel like with both phones, I'll find myself charging it before the end of the day. With Android, I always saw that it sucked up a lot of battery, and especially when you have Touchwiz in the mix, it's just going to not be a pretty picture. On the iPhone 7, however, it's running iOS, and it really doesn't, use that much power, and standby time is great. But when you're using them, I would definitely say the S7 Edge has the advantage here. Now, some other quick things to note, as I said, both of them have fingerprint sensors. The S7 Edge does have a microSD card slot, which is pretty cool if you consider, you can double the memory easily. The iPhone 7 does not. And another thing to add is that both phones do have some sort of water resistance. The iPhone 7 is IP67 rated, so it's dust and water resistant up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. The S7 Edge is IP68 dust and waterproof, so it can actually handle up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. So both phones do offer water resistance, but in terms of just the overall protection, I guess the S7 Edge is a little bit better in this case. So between the two, which one should you get in 2018? I would definitely say to pick up the S7 Edge. I do find it being a little bit better in a lot of categories. I don't think it's going to be supported for much longer in terms of, the OS it's getting in Android. But I do think, it just feels so much more premium. The screen is awesome. I can probably get over the software updates as long as they don't mess up Android 8 anymore. If they give us Android 9, that'd be even better. Yeah, but in terms of both of them, I would definitely rather pick up the Galaxy S7 Edge than pick up an iPhone 7. I'll leave links in the description for an S7 Edge and even an iPhone 7 if you guys want it. So definitely purchase it through those links. They'll definitely help out the channel. If you guys have any questions or you agree with me or disagree with me, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. We're still giving away an iPhone 6s and an iPhone SE on this channel, and in order to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are down in the description, and there's a video link in the description as well of a video I did explaining more about the giveaway, so make sure you check that out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.